Welcome to New Life Live with Stephen Arterburn. For 35 years, New Life has been transforming lives one at a time, thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's today's host, Chris Williams.
Welcome to New Life Live. We are so glad that you are with us today, and we would love for you to join us. Give us a call, 1-800-229-3000. We're going to be in studio for a couple of hours, and the we I'm referring to is licensed professional clinical counselor, author, and president of New Life Extraordinaire, Becky Brown. How are you doing,
Hello,
Becky?
Chris. I'm so excited to be here.
And also another renowned author and licensed psychologist, Dr. Jill Hubbard.
Hello, guys.
Good to see you, Jill.
Good to see you.
All right, Becky, I'm going to go back to you. You're going to cue us up for something that's really important.
I am so excited because I get to share. Normally I'm telling you guys,
Yeah.
you share. So here's the thing, we talk a lot on here about how our brain is impacted by trauma, depression, anxiety, all the things. I want to talk about how to help our brains by understanding the power of our daily dose, D-O-S-E. And so we're going to talk about brain chemicals. So we're going to start with dopamine, which is the reward chemical. And the way that we can increase our dopamine in our brain is through self-care, like getting enough sleep, eating good, healthy food, being present when we eat, not just like scarfing it down. It could be taking a hot bath, answering the question, how do I take care of myself, can begin to increase that focus on the dopamine spike. Also, accomplishing a task or a goal. This is one of my favorite things, to make a list of something and check off those things. Or it could be that you have something that you need to achieve, whether it's you want to start doing a 5K. It doesn't have to be anything that extreme, but achieving a goal.
1K.
Yeah, 1K. But really, dopamine spikes when we have a sense of accomplishment. Now we're going to go on to oxytocin. It's the love hormone. And of course, we talk about connection here all the time, and people are going to be like, it's such a, we talk about connection. But here, your mirror neurons need other people. It is a very important part of helping our brains receive that oxytocin. And so, when you think about, you have like 300 friends or plus on your social media accounts, but you haven't talked to anybody in a long time. So it could be something like physical touch, hugs, kisses, handshakes. Just being in the presence of someone can make such a difference. Also serving, helping out in lots of different ways. Also animals, if you have a pet. And, so just think about, how can I connect with someone today? Serotonin is the S, it's the mood stabilizer. And we can increase that through prayer and meditation, focusing on the Word of God, on praying, and really getting our minds focused on things that are positive. We also can increase serotonin by getting outside, whether it is you just sitting out enjoying nature or you're going for a walk. It doesn't matter if it's even raining, but also mindfulness. Your serotonin will spark when you think about what you're thinking about and what you're feeling. So many times we just are a mood waiting to happen, and we're not paying attention to what we're really feeling inside. And last is E, endorphins. These are the painkillers. And of course, the number one endorphin killer is laughter. And in any way that you can get it, whether it is a funny movie, sharing a joke, seeing humor in the unexpected. The last two parts of endorphins are movement and exercise, dancing, and creativity, hobbies, listening to music, creating something, enjoying art, or even a movie or a play. So take your daily dose. Think about the things that you might need to add into your daily life that could increase your brain's power to feel happier, because happiness is a byproduct. And with that, I hope that helps you get that daily dose.
And let us make...
That was great.
Let New Life be a part of your daily dose. Give us a call today, 1-800-229-3000. We'll be back right after this.
New Life Ministries saved my completely broken marriage.
No matter how much hurt you've had to face, no marriage is beyond hope. At New Life Ministries Intimacy and Marriage Weekend, licensed counselors will help you rebuild communication skills and renew your commitment to each other.
You're building authentic intimacy, and you're learning how to connect on an emotional and relational level. You're learning how to listen. You're learning how to identify those core patterns that get in the way of good relationship.
The next Intimacy and Marriage Weekend is July 26th to the 28th in Washington, D.C. Register online at newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and use the discount code NLL to save $50. 1-800-639-5433.
3.5 years later, we're still going strong. I would encourage anybody who's struggling in their marriage to go. They are more effective than anything else we tried.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live. Chris Williams here, Dr. Jill Hubbard, Becky Brown, and Becky, you were just talking about something I think is really, really important. And what is important about what we're talking about is that happiness is produced inside of us. Mm-hmm. And we can affect that change. And I think that oftentimes we get trapped in the belief that happiness is something that happens to us, not something that we can actually generate and create.
Mm-hmm. And I was saying at the break, I was slow on the draw, and I didn't get that DOSE was an acronym for all of these neurotransmitters, but it makes so much sense. And I love the things that you attach to them of what we can do. And I even think, like yesterday, I went kayaking with a friend.
Yes.
And it's like such a mood lifter. One,
Yes.
we're talking intimately, well, screaming back at each other, right?
Yes.
But we're outside on the water, and it just felt good, moving my body. Like I don't get enough exercise, so it was really great.
Yeah.
Well, and I think about that part of it too, Jill, is that so many things in our life right now are screen related.
Yes.
And there are good and bad things to that, but we don't realize that we are living vicariously through others' pictures of kayaking,
Yeah.
or,
I know.
as opposed to just go doing it.
No, I was so energized. I actually came home and washed my car because, of course, all the car washes were closed, right?
Yes.
And then I was exhausted. So,
And then you got good sleep, which makes your day better, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, so this is great. I love it.
But I think that brings up a really, really important point, and that is so much of our lives can get trapped in passivity. Mm-hmm. And we get stuck in these
Or stuck
ruts.
up here in the head, right?
Yeah,
spinning.
Yes, and to that point, social media can act like it, and it does mimic dopamine, and can provide these micro doses of dopamine, but we don't understand that it's an actual cumulative drain that keeps us and pulls us into a state of lethargy.
And we're looking for something, right, to increase the dopamine, and it doesn't really deliver.
No,
it
not at all.
delivers temporarily, and then it is just mind-numbing and not satisfying.
TV serves the same, even though we're streaming and we're watching media and but TV does the same thing, where you hear people, binging on series, whether it's like a mystery, because think about what's happening when you're watching something that's engaging. You're feeling it inside, but literally it's an overwhelm, and it takes you out of your life.
Yes.
And one of the big challenges that we have in each of our lives is to pay attention to what are we thinking? What are we doing?
Yep.
Where are we?
True, but sometimes people want to be taken out of their
Yes,
lives,
exactly.
right? So it's a mini escape, but at the same time, you're right, because we don't move forward when we're just avoiding our life.
Well, and that's one of my favorite definitions of addiction, is that it's a radical commitment to escape reality.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And so we can see where social media and our phones and screen time and TVs and shows are this place where we can escape reality. But if we do that over and over again, then we lose the resiliency for reality. And that really is where it starts having very damaging effects. And to kind of take that turn, because I think that here at New Life, we offer something incredibly important, essential. Because one of the most powerful drugs out there that has devastating consequences that we're trying to battle is the drug of pornography. And how easy it is, especially for men, to get lost in this place, and for it to be a place to go to regulate mood. As you said, Becky, moods happen to us.
Right.
And so we forget that this thing is a powerful antidote and a powerful medicator for the things that we may be experiencing on the inside. And that power also drags us away from reality, takes us into a really, really dangerous and painful unreality that affects our life in dramatic ways.
It's false intimacy. And we all crave that connection with other human beings. And so then when we don't get that, we look for artificial ways, like you just said about addiction. And, no one looks at pornography initially thinking, oh, I hope this wrecks my life. And yet we hear about it over and over again.
Absolutely.
No, it's like you don't think past the moment of the using, whatever it is, be it a substance or pornography. It's just, how can I make the pain stop or whatever I'm feeling stop? But you don't think about the next moment.
And you don't think about who's it impacting. There's this
or the
denial,
effect,
and this illusion that, well, it's just me and it's no big deal and no one else knows. And so
who am I hurting?
Exactly. And those are all rationalizations around the addiction that keep it stuck, that ultimately keep an obsession upon the self. And so this is another aspect of it, is that people's like, oh, people that are porn addicts are narcissistic. And I'm like, no, not necessarily. Not all. Okay.
Maybe a few.
And I would say not even most, but we have to understand this. Addiction itself is narcissistic. That's the key
It creates narcissistic behavior because it creates self-absorption.
And it creates...
And not caring about others.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And for sure, a lack of care for others because you can't care for others. And in that, it also promises power without vulnerability. And so that's the bypass that, sort of the unconscious, powerful bypass that we're going for. And so in recovery, re-entering into connection with vulnerability is so essential. And so let me set that up by saying this. Our Every Man's Battle does just that. It provides this phenomenal gateway into a new experience. First off, it is a little bit scary at first, because the scales of denial and all of the defenses that we have around the use come kind of tumbling down. But it's done in a safe environment. It's done with other people who are going through it. There's lots of positive Me Too moments in this place. But ultimately, it offers this small incubator of honest, authentic connection that shows you the unbelievable alternative that you can have to this really painful lost rabbit hole addiction of pornography. And we are going to have our online Every Man's Battle August 10th. And so, guys, if you're out there struggling with this issue, do not delay. In fact, I don't want you to delay at all, because the early bird pricing ends this Friday. The other thing I want to mention about that is we have an Every Man's Battle podcast. And you'll want to check that out. And JJ and Doug talk about these deeper issues underlying the addiction and the trappings of pornography and sexual acting out, and how to really navigate recovery and how to get into recovery. And it is just a powerful, powerful tool and resource. And again, we would love to talk to you today. Give us a call, 1-800-229-3000. I also want to mention that if you are listening, and it could be live or it could be a different time, but you're unable to call in, you can submit questions online to us, and those questions come to us, and there's times where we can get to those questions. And so you go to newlife.com/radio, and we can definitely get to those. And in fact, I want to get to one of those right now. And we had a write-in question from Chantel, and she listens via One Place app. And a great way to get a hold of us. And she is struggling with her brother and how to support him. Her brother is recovering from a brain injury and addiction recovery. But the brain injury is a result of an overdose. And she wants to know, what is the best way to support my brother through his brain injury and addiction recovery? So, friends, how do we support someone recovering from a heroin addiction and a brain injury?
Heroin.
Yeah.
One of the things that I'm thinking, that if you're not already involved in recovery yourself, that's a great way to start, whether it is through a life recovery group or an Al-Anon group, where you are with other people who have loved ones who are struggling with addiction. The brain injury does complicate it, but also what happens, and we know this in relationships where there has been addiction, it changes the people around the person who's struggling with the addiction. And so I think for her, that would be a great first step. And it may seem weird because you're thinking, well, why wouldn't we fix him? Well, you got to start with you. And then I would say it depends on what the brain injury is, because what are his limitations as far as communication, ability to get to a meeting or to do counseling. But I would say she needs to get involved with a codependent group or Al-Anon life recovery group.
Yeah, I would also say to educate yourself, Chantel, on his specific brain injury, as you were saying, Becky, because you need to know what is he capable of and what isn't he capable of. Because then with addiction, right, you don't want to do for him what he needs to do for himself, but you want to come alongside him. And I think it's always good to ask the person, what would be helpful to you? How can I come alongside you and best support you? What are you hoping for from me? What do you not need from me? Because sometimes we assume and we want to step in, and when someone is more vulnerable, we can easily go into that caretaking mode, and that's why getting clear ourselves in something like Al-Anon, because we need to not overinvest where we're not needed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not good for us or them.
Well, and to understand his capacity, because if his brain has been injured both through the addiction to heroin as well as whatever happened to him, what are his limitations? Because you could be having some unresolved resentment and anger towards him, thinking he should be better, go faster, do whatever. Right. And that's just going to make it worse. But yeah, I think there's more inspection to be done.
Too, the loss, because here he, was in the illness of addiction, but it's also self-inflicted. And I think people who are not addicts often have a lot of resentment that they cover up with over caretaking. Yeah. Right? So it's important to look at that.
Well, and that reminds me, Jill, because there is this very common dynamic with addiction, and that is that the loved ones around the addict will overfunction. Yes. And the addict will underfunction.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
But you were also mentioning, that this is a brain injury. And so there is going to be an underfunctioning based on the limitation. And so in all of these instances, I think that it's important, as you said, to educate to what is actually going on here. And again, going back to what Becky mentioned, and what is my role?
Yeah.
Right.
And that's one of the most confusing, baffling things about being connected to an addict.
That's what she's asking.
Yeah.
And that's a really good question to ask. And we can't define her role specifically because we don't have all the particulars.
Yes.
But I think we would encourage her to start finding out those particulars and go to the people that can help her define her role.
Absolutely.
Do you know one of the things that I think it happens in the life of somebody in a relationship with someone who's struggling with addiction of all forms is the crazy making when you think all you need to do is not do the thing that's causing all the problems, and then we can all be happy. I mean, that's usually what that's, because it seems so simple to us, but we miscalculate what happened preceding the addiction. And especially with heroin addiction, my brother, who is no longer with us, struggled with heroin addiction for many, many years. And it is the thought processes are disrupted with somebody who is addicted to heroin or some other mood altering substance like that. Well, and for that matter, any addiction disrupts your thought process.
Done long enough and hard
right.
enough.
But you think about, well, heroin, it's illegal. Why would you ever even do it? But it doesn't matter what you think. It's
It's not logical.
It's not
but
logical.
That speaks to the depth of the pain.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That the person goes farther and farther up the chain of drugs.
Yeah.
Right? To get away from something that they feel is completely intolerable inside of them.
Yeah. Give us a call today if you are struggling with a relationship, an addiction, being connected to someone who is addicted. This is a big, big, big issue. And it can get really complicated very quickly, and we can help you with that. So give us a call, 1-800-229-3000. Also, if you're in need of a counselor, give us a call at 1-800-NEW-LIFE, and we can connect you with a counselor in your area. And that applies to coaching as well. So we have a lot of resources here, and we'll be back right after this.
When you give to the New Life Scholarship Fund, you're giving someone hope for a brighter future.
I was kind of in the closet and hid with my struggle. Your donation really made the difference, especially in my situation, because I ended up getting laid off from my job.
At the New Life Intensives, hurting people are able to begin a new path towards healing and freedom that has an effect on all of those around them.
I think the people who support New Life financially are people that I'll never know. I'll never be able to thank them personally for the gift that they gave to us. Their giving saved me, my husband, and our family from being torn apart.
To help hurting people to connect to the help they need, make your gift to the Scholarship Fund at newlife.com or by calling 1-800-NEW-LIFE and specifying scholarships.
Someone called and sponsored me to come this weekend. Whoever that is, just know that you saved a life. Literally, you saved my life.
1-800-NEW-LIFE. Daniel Grossman on coaching.
Coaches are really focused on the future and helping people to develop those skills and those strategies to help them move forward in their life. A coach really partners with you to focus on things like personal growth or health goals, spiritual growth, helping you develop in your career or possibly strengthening your relationships or maybe even breaking free from a negative pattern.
If you need a coach for life, your career, relationships, your health and fitness, leadership, and more, call New Life today and ask about the New Life Coaching Network. Our coaches have been screened and certified with the same intensive process we use for our network counselors.
Coaches use different techniques. Some like to use strategic questions and accountability, ultimately empowering you to take those next steps towards your goals.
Take control of your life and take action to achieve your goals. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and talk to us about getting a New Life coach today.
I really believe that everyone can use a coach in their corner.
1-800-NEW-LIFE. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live, and we would love to hear from you. We're going to be in studio for a couple of hours, so please give us a call, 1-800-229-3000. Becky and Jill, just this past week, we had lost the late, great Bob Newhart. And Becky, as you were talking about those of us that are connected to addicts, so I was going to just say that famous video, a really, really funny skit that Bob Newhart had about just stop it.
Stop it
Just
therapy.
Stop it therapy. Stop it therapy.
Just stop it.
Yes. We really do wish that it worked, but we also know that it doesn't, and that there is so much more that we need to understand and get to and grow.
Well, and to the listening audience, if you've never seen that video, you can Google Bob Newhart, stop it. But one of my favorite parts of that, he plays a psychiatrist and he's talking to a client. And he's like, okay, get your notepad out. You know, she's like, do I need to take notes? He's like, well, if you want to. Okay, here it is. STOP, new word, IT. Stop it. and sometimes, we can get so frustrated with the people around us that are struggling with something, and we just think stop it is the answer, but we know that it's more than just stop it. But if it were that easy, we'd all do it.
That's the point, Becky, is that there is something in all of our lives that we would love to just stop it, that we have a struggle with, and that we can't just do it. Stop it that simply. And again, that's why we're here. Hope and healing in life's hardest places where stop it no longer works. But what we are going to do is we're going to go back to the phones. We're going to go to Josie listening in Virginia Beach, Virginia on WAVA. Josie, are you there?
I am.
Good. Well, tell us what's going on today.
So I have a relative who is struggling from past experiences of having been molested when he was a child by a stepfather, and then has used substances in the past like alcohol and marijuana, but more recently shifted mostly to vaping. Still uses alcohol some, but the concern I have is it seems like there is some kind of something more than just the vaping that's going on, because I'm thinking that maybe he's using household products along with that.
What makes you think that?
The seizure.
Oh, say that again?
There's a couple of different things that have happened. One is he's had occasional seizures, and there's no, they can't identify anything that connects to it, so to speak. And then also, I noticed that his speech changes, or he starts doing different behaviors than what he normally does.
Yeah.
And I don't think just regular vaping does that.
Well, not nicotine.
Yeah. Do you know what's in the vape?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I mean, if there's THC in the vape, and you can kind of mistake, people who don't do that kind of thing, there's so many different shapes and sizes of devices, it's hard to know what is what.
And so many different chemicals that you can vape.
Sure, absolutely.
So, Josie, what's the question for us? How can we help you?
I'm wondering what could cause that sort of behavior. I guess you're saying it could be THC or...
what's causing the seizures and the slurred speech?
Yeah, what will happen is his voice will change. It'll... and his movements, he may even be hallucinating a little bit, but clearly his thoughts are more scattered, and...
But you can clearly see that he's under the influence of something.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Josie,
there's nothing oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Did you say that he's been tested, during the times of seizures, for, all types of chemicals, drugs, different things? Alcohol, drugs?
I know that he has been taken to the hospital on some occasions and, checked in and that sort of thing, but I don't know to what extent the testing was, but I just know that they've said that they didn't have a final
conclusion,
determination, and
there are some drugs that go in and out of your system very quickly.
Usually stimulants,
And so some are harder to test for. But everything you're describing, especially if people are mixing chemicals, the combinations and the quantity of use over chronic use will cause all kinds of symptoms. And every person is slightly different in how it manifests. So I think seizures are not completely uncommon when it comes to drug addiction.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you have seizures, like you said, you can be hallucinations. Like there's so many, this is the struggle, is there's so many different variables that could be happening here.
Right. And drug use can bring on things that are dormant.
Yes.
So mental illnesses, other maladies, it can bring them onto the scene.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Josie, you hear the music. We're going to head to a break here, but I want us all to know that you can listen to us on many different platforms. You can connect with us on YouTube, but we also have the New Life app. Listen anytime, anywhere. So download it in where you get your apps, and that is the New Life app, and we'll be back right after this.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit it's addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have Christ-centered partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I was sort of vaguely familiar that the 12 steps had some origination in the Bible. I found Life Recovery, and one of the things I liked so much was that it had such a broad appeal. It wasn't limited to just alcohol or drugs, that it was addressing a wide range of problems.
At New Life, we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country. They take place online, in conference calls, and in person. And if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. We have startup materials, leaders' guides, CDs, Bibles, and more, all with discounts available for groups. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and ask for Terry Ward. The 12 Steps have long been a great help to people in recovery because much of the 12 Steps' power comes from the fact that they capture principles clearly revealed in the Bible.
The 12 Steps is really a pattern for all of us as Christians.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live, and it is myself, Jill, Becky, and Josie. Josie, you have a relative here that is really showing some dangerous signs and really concerning medical issues that we're looking at in different aspects of it, of what's going on here. So, Becky, where do we go with Josie from here?
Yeah, so Josie, I just want to know, what kind of influence do you have with him? Like, how often do you see him? What is your connection to him? You don't have to tell me, relation, but I just want to know, how often are you speaking with him, or that you are in contact with him?
It has fluctuated. At one point, we were allowing him an opportunity to get on his feet, but that's when I noticed this behavior, and so then he's no longer with us. But at this point, it's only periodically.
Okay, and so is that because you don't know where he is, or is it because okay, go ahead.
I saw him a couple of weeks ago, but I do know where he is now. He's just not in the same area as I am at this point.
Okay. So the reason why I asked that is it kind of goes back to what we opened the show with. When you have someone in your life who's struggling with addiction of any form, it impacts you, and then sounds like you were trying to help him, and then he couldn't abide by whatever the parameters were, which is common. But I also want to encourage you, as you get your own support, that when you are able to connect with him, that you also could offer whatever resources that might be wherever he is, to go to a meeting, to, that kind of thing.
Right. I thought about Celebrate Recovery and some of those sorts of things, but it really threw me off by what I knew he wasn't using certain things because of when it would occur. And so it was kind of throwing me off, like, what is this? And then I noticed like he would use these gloves to put on before. And
well, it sounds like fentanyl.
Okay.
You know, but Josie, here's the thing. What we know for sure about addiction is it is an intimacy disorder. So no matter what drug he's taking, he needs to be in community and connection in order for him to find the help that he needs. If he is using fentanyl, it is a 911 kind of situation because it will kill him. And, you know, so we have life recovery groups as well, but I also think any kind of Narconon, Alcoholics Anonymous, any of those kind of connection groups, if he can get there, would be helpful.
Well, and how aware, Josie, is he that his past childhood trauma is impacting his choices now?
Yeah, I could tell when he's talking sometimes, and he's willing to talk about his past, like he thinks that like his father, he was adopted, so he just was. I could tell he was searching for something like, why is there maybe some abandonment, or why have I been left? And then now more recently with a relationship that he was in and it's broken now. And why now is she leaving me? But it's like, well, you've got this issue that you're not addressing.
Yeah.
At the same time. So these things play all in together, and you've got to be willing to face it before you can get past it, is sort of what we talked about.
And Josie, he can't do that on his own.
No.
Like, yes, he needs to face it, and he needs others to help him face that.
Yeah, and it's obviously not us.
Yes, yeah. Well,
you know,
and I think, Josie,
you figured that out.
yeah, and I think also what we tend to forget, and I kind of say it a lot, is that these are serious, serious medical conditions and serious, serious psychiatric conditions that we treat with home remedies. And so we want to see what are the resources available to him and in his life, and can we pull those resources together to get him into a treatment facility that can handle what he's going through and give him a fighter's chance at not just recovery or sobriety, but actual healing of what's going on inside of him.
Yeah, to be in a contained environment so he feels supported, because these issues are really scary to dive into.
Yeah.
And so a program that will give him the therapeutic support to look at the trauma while also helping him stay clean of the substances, and maybe giving him the medication that he actually does need that would support his brain chemistry.
Yes.
And Josie, if he's interested, willing to go to treatment, we do have partner treatment centers across the country that we can get you in contact with.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's really, I mean, when I had him here, I was really excited because there's so much opportunity. I could see that, like, he's memorized scripture. He has a ton of biblical knowledge. He can talk with you about it. But we talked about how, okay, so you've got the knowledge, but it's the application that's important. But he can't get to there without addressing this.
Well, and again, Josie, this goes back to addiction is not just a behavioral problem.
Right.
It really is a medical condition, deep physiological, deep social. I mean, I call it biopsychosocial spiritual disease. There's not a part of the body, and so it needs that deep work that professionals can get to.
Right. Desire isn't enough. They can have the desire, but they're unwilling or unable, to follow through.
Absolutely. So, Josie, thank you.
And I could see that frustration that he has.
Yeah.
You can see that.
Yeah.
And
he tries, and then it breaks down.
Yeah, and absolutely. And when you try and it breaks down, and then shame gets in there and starts driving it. And again, that's why, proper professional really good treatment help can be really, really effective here and give him a real fighter's chance to tackle what's going on inside of him. And Josie, we are so thankful that family members like you exist in the world that are willing to stick with it, willing to help out, and willing to go to the answers that are needed. And so we're going to send you a copy of Take Your Life Back. And that's, I think there's so many principles in that book that help us realize where our boundaries are, what we can do, what we can't do, and to move forward in helping people in our lives that are suffering. So thank you so much for that, Josie. And we're going to go back to the calls, and we're going to go to Liz in Orlando, Florida, listening on KGFT. Liz, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you for taking my call.
No problem. Tell us what's going on today.
Okay. I love my children, and one of them, she completely wants nothing to do with the Lord, and she's gay, and it's breaking my heart. And we've had a rough past. I have 5 children, and all 3 of them went into the military. And she was Army, and she excels in everything that she does. And but like I said, we've had a past, and I've tried my best to fix myself, because I was very abusive, and I was raised in a family of women that were very strong, Puerto Rican, screw men, and we're going to do this, and we don't need them, and I had this mentality, and I was abused as well growing up, and so I figured their methods, I'll use them on my children. No, that doesn't seem to work. And I was really sick, and my husband joined the Army, and we moved from New York City to Colorado Springs, Colorado, and he did 3 tours in Iraq, and I was left with the kids and with my issues with my mother.
Yeah.
So basically, yeah.
Oh, go ahead. So I was going to say there's a lot going on here, and some painful pasts. And
yes. And here we have my child, and so she came to visit. And she just left. She just left a few days ago, and she came to visit with her friend. But they stood in an Airbnb, but they would come by because they know how we feel. We both told them, my husband and I, that we loved you both.
Yes.
Okay? But we don't love this.
Yes.
This is a no-no to my dad, to my father. We cannot. But we will love you where you're at.
And so what's the question for us today?
So I want to make sure that we are loving them right and not loving them the way I feel. I want to make sure that we are loving them through Jesus Christ. And what does that look like?
Yeah, Liz, that's a great question. And there's so much here. First and foremost, when we realize that we have done poorly and maybe even harmfully, and we recognize that and make corrections, that is a huge step. And I'll say that's a great start on loving others well. But we're going to dive a little bit deeper into this right when we come back, right after this.
We all face days where life throws us a curveball and our routines or plans get disrupted. Things we wanted to do are forced to take a backseat to the unexpected demands of the day. If you normally listen to New Life Live on a radio station, well, you might not be able to that day. And on these hectic days when you're feeling stressed or frazzled, hearing the sound of counsel given on New Life Live is just what you need to navigate the unexpected things of life.
Every time I'm troubled or I have a problem, I'll cut on New Life, and there's always something that is said that is helpful to me.
By listening, I have learned more than I can ever express about how God wants me to live.
Download the New Life app for the easiest way to listen wherever you are and at a time that's convenient for you, or watch the show on our YouTube channel. You can even subscribe to our podcast from your favorite podcast provider. You never have to miss a day of New Life. Wherever you are, we are.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for over 34 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family, or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addictions, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals, all in a biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first step towards genuine spiritual and emotional healing, call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door to a better tomorrow. Call 1-800-639-5433.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live, and we are talking with Liz, and she's just in this really painful situation.
Mm-hmm.
And the pain that I'm referring to is a painful past.
Mm-hmm.
That is, abuse that has been passed down generation to
Right.
generation.
And when you see it repeating, it's so hard. It's
Yeah.
like a runaway train. Like, how do I stop this?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. And Liz, I just have a quick question. How much guilt or shame are you carrying inside of you as a result of your daughter's struggles?
Oh, it's a lot. It's a lot. And I have given it to the Lord. I know I have. And He has been great and merciful and amazing. I can see his hand upon my life and His forgiveness. I can see it. But there's times where I kind of, I see certain things and I go, oh my gosh. And it's crazy because I was once gay. And my children never knew it. This is when I was younger and hanging out in New York and doing my thing as New Yorkers do when you're growing up as a kid. And I was very angry at my parents. And I had a very destructive, first marriage and abused by that. And so.
Yeah.
And Liz, have you looked at what that was for you? And when you went through that season of life?
Yeah, I remember even hurting my family, during that process. And I look back and it breaks my heart, but I know back then I wasn't good. I just wasn't good. I didn't have good parents. I really didn't.
Right. And so there's a lot of hurt that you lived through and unknowingly passed on to your daughter. And even though she didn't know you were gay, right? Yeah. She's kind of followed in your footsteps. And you know what? She's become a really strong woman. But she also has that mother hunger that goes along with women who end up in same-sex relationships. Right? There's something amiss there, not to put all of the blame on you, but there's something they're longing for, and it comes from a really young place, and then it gets sexualized. And so I think it might be time, if you haven't already, to maybe share some things with your daughter. Maybe even share about that experience for you.
Yeah.
That you at one time turned to other women because men were so bad and you had that, bad man syndrome inside of you.
Well, you know what I'm thinking too, Liz? Your question is about how can I make sure that I'm loving her like Jesus? And I think you are. I think, you've accepted her and you're, connecting with her. But going along with what Jill and Chris are talking about, this is why I say, it's not just me, but we say all the time, recovery is for everyone. It's not for just when you have addiction or whatever, but the fact that you've been carrying this secret, this shame, this around with you, it impacts your present. And so in order for you to do what Jill is suggesting, you're going to need to continue to just process the grief and get rid of the shame, get rid of the guilt, And that, that's our life's work. All of us is just to continue to look for the ways. You mentioned that you were abusive to them, and I don't know how you've made things right with them, or if you've acknowledged the pain that you have brought into their lives. Because, we always say, if it's not one thing, it's your mother. I mean, it just, but I think that's powerful. But I don't know how that hits you.
I did. And I have to tell you, they do know that I was gay at one point. They do know. And I'm very open, and I spoke with all of them, and I told them, I said I was a troubled girl, and I lived in the streets and hung out and and did some crazy stuff. I said, so I was very troubled. I didn't have, the parents, my parents, they weren't raised right as well. They were abused as well, and thrown in what do you call it, convents. My mom was raised in a convent with nuns and stuff, so she's had a troubled past as well.
Well, and Liz, I just want to point. I'm going to jump in because I want to point something out that I think is really important. There is a developmental part in what you're talking about, and even in your question, that points to something that's missing. When we approach Jesus, we oftentimes do ask this question: how do I get it right? But it's actually the wrong question, because it typically comes from, I'll call it this, an infantile or a younger place inside, a place that hasn't quite grown up yet. Because what that speaks to is what's called a good-bad split. It means this: if I behave good and get it right, then I will be okay with the people around me. If I behave poorly and get it wrong, then I will not be okay. I will not get love. I will not get acceptance. I will not get the things I need. And so when we grow up in abusive environments where that is the case, then we go into our adulthood thinking, well, for it to be okay, I got to get it right. And by getting it right by loving her, like Jesus, with the love of Jesus, I'm like, well, yes, is the answer to that. It may not exact the change that you would like in the other person.
Right.
But what we're going for, and where you're leading, which I love the leading, is that it moves us towards acceptance.
Loving her in spite of thinking differently.
Yes.
And wanting different for her.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that we're not going to get it right here. But we want to get it good.
Yeah.
Right. And that's kind of that movement that we're going from, is from, hey, right and wrong, to healthy versus unhealthy. Mm-hmm. Jesus actually healthier, exactly.
Yeah.
When Jesus is confronted by the Pharisees, you have the sinners and you have the Pharisees. You have the sinners and the saints, and the saints are asking him, the Pharisees are asking him, why are you hanging out with all of these people? And he doesn't say because they're getting it wrong and they need to get it right. He says because they're sick and they need to get well. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a really good reframe that Jesus has for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder too, Liz, are you feeling like you're not loving her well? I mean, obviously you called us today, so I'm just kind of curious.
Yes.
What sparked this? Did she say something, or did you experience something where you feel like you're falling short?
Well, no, I think we were in my bedroom, and I asked her, I said, have you heard from your brother John? This is my firstborn, which I don't, and this we don't talk. My firstborn and I, we don't talk, and my mother and I, we don't talk. So it's been so heavy. And I asked her, I said, have you heard from your brother? She was like, we don't talk. You know how he is, Mom, we don't talk. And and I told her, I said, well, I hope everything is doing well with him and my grandchildren, and I hope everything's well. And and she just looked at me and she goes, Mom, you just gotta forgive yourself.
Wow. Yeah.
Hey, Mom, you just gotta forgive yourself. Mom, if he's still behaving that way, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's who he is. And she says, and I've forgiven you.
Wow.
Wow.
Forgive yourself, Mom.
Right. And see,
said,
Liz,
but I could have
right.
I did.
But that's the reason why we talk about recovery is for everyone, because that is something that is part of that recovery journey, is making peace with your past, being able to rid yourself of that guilt.
And so, Liz, we cheer you on and love the wisdom that your daughter was sharing with you. The power of forgiveness. And we're going to send you a copy of Jill's book.
My book.
Yes, Forgiving Our Fathers and Mothers. Give us a call, 1-800-229-3000, and thank you for being with us.
We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Thanks for watching today. We love helping people. I hope you sense that. And we know that there's always hope if you find the right resource. Now, if something we've said to somebody else applies to you, that's fantastic. That's what we're hoping for. But also, if you want to join us directly, you can call 1-800-229-3000 between 1 and 3 Eastern Time, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays. Those are the best times to get through. And while you're here on YouTube, check out these other videos that we've done to help people see where they could grow or a different path to take. And if you do that, would you give us a thumbs up on the video, and please subscribe to this channel. There are many ways that we can help you outside of the radio program, and it's very hard for some to pick up a phone and dial 1-800-NEW-LIFE. But when you do, we put you in touch with somebody who cares about you, knows all the resources out there, and they're going to find the best for you. There is no reason to struggle alone. I hope to see you tomorrow. Hope you'll invite somebody else to come and join that maybe needs just a little bit of help along the way. I'll see you next time.